That is another episode of the On Windbags. RJ Clifford, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. 22 days into dry January. Soto.
How you feeling?
So I'm at the stage of my sobriety where I start getting a really wicked sweet tooth. Because when you're drinking, like, it's just all sugar, right? Like alcohol is just like it synthesizes into it turns into sugar, right? So like I don't really have a sweet tooth. Like I'm more of a junk food guy than a sweet tooth guy. Like I'd rather have like a chili dog or a gas station taquito than like a candy bar or a piece of chocolate, you know? But when I haven't drank for 3 weeks, my body's like, where's this sugar? I have been destroying our candy jar here at home. Just double fisting Reese's. Oh my God. It's so weird. It's so weird.
When I go normally, like the candy jars, you know, at a decent level. When RJ hasn't been drinking, all
Decimated.
The crap candies left. All the good ones are gone.
It's just tumbleweeds flowing in grandma's candy jar that she gave me. I got to imagine this is like when a woman's on her period or something, or like when she's pregnant or getting cravings. Like this is the closest thing I can imagine to it. It's just I have this uncanny craving for sugar that I don't have the other 11 months a year. It's weird.
Yeah, like I'm not a big candy guy. Like if I don't have a big sweet tooth either, and I have these little like they're Mexican candies, but they're like fruit flavors. They're like hard candies. Mm-hmm. But they actually taste a lot like the fruit, you know. So if I have like want some candy, I'll just pop a fruit candy in.
9 more days. Ironically, episode 300 into it. This is episode 298. So we are getting to episode 300 in 2 weeks. It'll be the dry January will be over and be drinking again. But we got to think of something cool to do for episode 300. That's a big deal. Not a lot of shows get to 300.
It's a lot, dude. I mean, that's not even counting. That's not even. I don't know. Did we count the live shows from the beginning?
The only shows that actually count that, like, so the actual shows, the ones that go to podcast that actually count are our regular Thursday shows, post game shows, and then there was like one or two, maybe two other exceptions that we were like, all right, let's just turn this into an emergency podcast, like turn it into an actual episode. So it's really like the majority of the year, it's just one show a week. Football season, it's 2 shows a week. And we're almost at 300.
Oh, man. How do we survive?
I know, right? We should have killed each other by now.
Dude, not even that. How do we survive these freaking Raiders, dude?
Right? This is supposed to be like when we started doing this show is when the Raiders were killing it. It was when they were on the way to the playoffs and they had won like 4 in a row. It's like, we've had this text chain going on for like 10 years. Let's turn it into a podcast. It'll be so fun. And then immediately everything goes to shit. Like, I think we cursed the Raiders. Like, the Raiders are like kind of doing well. And then we started doing a podcast about it. And it's just,
I mean, I think John
Gruden different head coach. Yeah, we were there first.
Dude,
no, we weren't.
It was John Gruden, man.
Well, things were going well for Gruden until he got here. They were winning more games every year. Carr was figuring things out. Hunter Renfrow was turning great. Darren Waller was flying all over the place.
Darren Waller didn't have a head tattoo.
And then we showed up. Wasn't even thinking about rapping.
Wasn't laying on the beach letting waves hit his face.
Getting stabbed by a chick.
Good God, dude. Who called that? Everybody.
Well, God giveth and God taketh away. We'll get to the sad news. Ben Johnson will not be our head coach. And just shortly after we found out who our GM's going to be. Done deal, ladies and gentlemen. Does that not look like a GM to you? John Spytek. Finalized deal. He was the Buccaneers' assistant GM. Obviously, he is now our GM. Just looks like an absolute nerd and dork, which is exactly what you want in a GM. You want a guy that sits in a dark room, grinding tape, negotiating, doing math. And if there were still people that needed to know, like that still needed more evidence that Tom Brady is making all the decisions, he gets the guy that he worked with most recently as a assistant GM at the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Like, I understand. Oh, well, Tom Brady gets his boy. I would be more inclined to think that way if just like wherever this guy goes, good things happen. Mm-hmm. And he moves up, and it's like it's not like he goes to a spot and just sits there in the same in the same role for a long period of time. This guy is consistently getting promoted every couple of years to a better and better spots, and where this guy goes, they win chips. So I mean, it's got to be said for something. And I've been listening to a lot of interviews of people talk about John Spytek. No one has a bad thing to say about the dude. Nobody. They interviewed the sideline reporter for the Bucks, and he was saying how, dude, the guy was just a solid dude, a smart guy. Everybody from every department, from the college scouting, to local scouts, to the pro scouts, to player personnel people, like they all come to him and ask him stuff. An interesting note too, when every week Tom Brady, when he was with the Bucks, had a meeting with the player personnel people because he wanted to have the advanced scouting and go, what do you think about, about the team that we're going to play? And Spytek was leading those meetings every single week. So he was the guy that was diving into like the nuts and bolts of every single next opponent. So this guy knows his stuff, dude. He knows his stuff. Yeah, he is a Brady guy, and the whole teammates thing was kind of overblown. He was like a walk-on, like scout team guy, and Brady was a starting quarterback. So they didn't really know each other.
Defense versus offense. Yeah,
they didn't really know each other.
They weren't roommates or anything.
Nah, nothing.
Let's get into let's get through like the negatives so we can do the positives, which is the vast majority. It's not even really negatives. It's just general reservations that come with something like this. Obviously, when you're hired as a GM, you're either never been a GM before, or you were fired as a GM, and you were fired as a GM because you weren't good, or you're promoted and you've never done it before, right? He's never been an actual GM. So unlike, like Telesco, like we had a body of work. We knew what we were getting. He'd been a GM for a decade. It's like, we know what we're getting, more or less, right? There is the possibility that Spytek was just part of these great places and wasn't the decision maker in bringing those guys in. It's potential. He was part of these great teams. Is he a product of great systems that he just kind of came along for the ride, or was he integral to those systems and all the success that they had? It's really hard to know at this point, this early. But that's kind of like the same thing with like hiring an offensive coordinator as a first-time head coach. Like, you have no idea if he's going to be a good head coach or not. You just know he was good in that one role.
I think it's a little bit easier than that because he's already been doing the job, and if you keep getting promoted within, because look, Jason Light, the GM for the Bucks, that guy's a stud, dude. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and
I think that Spytek knew that if he wanted to grow in a role and become a GM, it wasn't going to be with the Bucks, because Jason Light he's been there forever. He does a great job. He mentored them all the way up. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that he was just a guy in the room, or he was, the main cog that made everything work. But he was a guy in the room. On top of that, he keeps getting promoted every couple of years to more and more responsibility. Normally, that doesn't happen unless you're doing a good job. And when you have a long-term GM in a role, he's not going to get guys and he's not going to promote guys, especially when he's not like, I guess you can do that if you're like on the hot seat. You don't want to get a guy that's too close to you. That's like a young up-and-comer. But he's entrenched in his role as GM. He's been there forever. He doesn't have any, he's not on a hot seat at all. And if you get promoted through those ranks, it's because you're doing a good job. It's because they see something in you that you can do more to help the team. And he went from, director of college scouting with the Browns, Southwest area scout with the Broncos, and then he became the national scout. They won a Super Bowl. Then he goes director of player personnel with the Bucks, vice president of player personnel, and then now assistant general manager.
Well, that's the hope, right? Is that he's getting promoted because of what he's done. But it's also when a team is succeeding, the guys at the top keep getting poached. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the Lions. Like, they can't hold to a coach to save their life. Rightfully so, right? There's something magic in that water. They're doing something great. And so guys above Spytek keep getting plucked too. again, this is all just kind of like, this isn't a Spytek specific thing. It's just par for the course when you hire a guy who hasn't been a GM before, is there's some unknowns there. Again, it's not even negatives. It's just reservations that come with the situation. I mean, other than that, like you said, no one's had a bad thing to say about him. This isn't like a Josh McDaniels where like it fizzled before and we're hoping he got better. He just like figured it out since Denver. This is a guy that, by all accounts, seems to know what he's talking about, played the game at a high level, been involved in a multiple quality franchises, won a Super Bowl. You look at, again, we don't know how much he's responsible for these draft picks, but like, look at this fucking list of dudes that he was on the staff that got drafted. OJ Howard, Chris Godwin, Vita Vea, Mike Edwards, like some pretty baller dudes, like a pretty strong list.
Tristan
of guys.
Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, two integral rookies to the Super Bowl team. From what I understood, he was kind of the point man for the Brady trade, and Gronk too, bringing over Gronk as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that he was the guy that made everything happen, but he was kind of like the liaison that was kind of, you know, keeping the conversation lines open.
A little sweetener.
Yeah.
A little sweet and low, right? Like, I feel like Brady was probably still going to go there because they had everything else going for him, but obviously, you know, playing with him, and it seems like a guy that brings people together, a guy that wasn't like abrasive with people. Like, that's another big thing as a GM. So much of, like, you think like coaches and GMs, you obviously have to be a people person to be successful, but in very different roles. As a coach, you're going to be a leader of men, like looked up to. I want to run through a brick wall for this guy. Whereas as a GM, you need to be liked. You need to be able to sit down in a negotiation with an agent or a player and be like, you like me. You want to work with me. Hey, you're not going to play hardball and ask for 12 million. You like it here, you'll take 10. That type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be that kind of guy. And all accounts are he's that kind of guy. Not a rah-rah guy. A lot of reports are like he's, you know, kind of quiet. But when you're one-on-one and dealing with him, people like working with him, which is what you
also
want
need
as
to
a
be
GM.
respected too. Mm-hmm. You need to be respected to be able to go through negotiations and not just try to bowl over somebody. Another sneaky move that Tampa did that year that they won the Super Bowl is they were able to re-sign Ndamukong Suh for a lot less than he could have gotten somewhere else. Because that was like the Ndamukong Suh years where he was just like 1 year with the Rams, 1 year he was just bouncing around year to get signing 1 year contracts.
Brawler for hire.
Yeah, making the most he could. And he stayed a second year for a lot less than he could have gotten with Tampa. Again, it's somewhere in between. He wasn't in the room, or he's the guy that got it done. It's somewhere in between there. But it just, wherever this guy goes, good things happen.
And it's the guy we wanted, right? I mean, this is the guy we wanted. Of the six interviews. So the Raiders had interviewed Commander's assistant Lance Newmark. On Monday, they interviewed Giants assistant Brandon Brown. Chargers assistant.
The guy that said to go ahead and get rid of Saquon Barkley. That guy.
That guy. Yeah.
Oh God.
The organization that did that. And it was only a virtual interview that they did with Spytek. They did virtual interviews with him, the Steelers director of pro personnel, Sheldon White, and the Green Bay Packers vice president, player personnel, John Eric Sullivan. This was only a virtual interview. So it kind of leads to two things. Again, Brady's calling the shots. And two, all it took was like a Zoom call. And they're like, yeah, we're good. Settle up, partner. We'll take you. And we definitely liked him over the other five. I mean, we've obviously been following the coaching conversation and coaching search way more closely, but it's a slam dunk, man. As much as anyone that's available out there, gonna be happier.
I researched before we hired Telesco. I researched, okay, who are the names of people to look at? He was one of the names to look at, and it's like, yes, he didn't go through a path of like just an administrative path. Some of these GMs out there, they've gone through like an administrative path where they're kind of like a paper pusher and they just surround themselves with good people. This guy was a college and pro scout where he kind of cut his teeth with the Eagles. And then he became the director of college scouting. So he knows how to, he has experience scouting college players, right? Then he became like a local area scout, right? Like a Southwest area scout, and then a national scout. Then he became a director of player personnel, which is away from college to the pros. There from there to, vice president of player personnel. And then now he's assistant general manager. Now that's even a little bit more removed to like more contract negotiations and stuff like that. So this guy has a lot of experience and a lot of history of doing a good job on college scouting, area scouting, pro scouting, and contracts. So he's got a lot of experience, and I just don't see a guy that's progressively getting higher and higher jobs if he's not doing a good job, honestly.
Well, that's the good news. We got the GM we wanted. The bad news is we're not getting the coach we wanted. Ben Johnson's going to the Bears. And the only reason we have Spytek is because we got rid of Telesco because we wanted to sweeten the pot for Ben Johnson to say, hey, come here, you can pick your GM. We didn't get him. And so it's like, all right, let's just get the GM we want. So this was a big game of musical chairs. It's like, that is so much, just like, not to digress too much, but it's kind of like dating where it's like, all right, me and this chick kind of have a thing, but she's got a boyfriend. I'm single. It's like, I got a girlfriend. Now she's single. Now she's married. You know what I mean? It's kind of like timing is everything. Same thing with head coaches and GMs. Like if this cycle happened last season, everything would be different, right? We got rid of Telesco, who did, good job, varying degrees of like good, great, whatever your opinion is, but amazing draft class, blah, blah. Got rid of him so Ben Johnson could pick his own GM to sweeten the pot for that. He gets hot now, and then the Lions lose as the number 1 seed in the divisional round, rushing everything forward, pushing, and then like all the people that aren't there back, right? Like the Pete Carrolls, the Mike McCarthy's, the like safe spots, they're now in the mix. It's such a fucking huge part of it. You wonder, like, how did this guy end up there? Like, we got to go back to that point in time and see where the dots are connecting, because it's like, why they get rid of Telesco? He's doing a good job. It's like, well, they wanted Ben Johnson. They didn't get Ben Johnson. He went somewhere else. So we got Spytek instead, and Spytek hired this guy, and it's boom, 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 boom. All bounces.
Yeah, it's when I remember I was working at a national electronics chain in college.
Best Buy.
I did work at Best Buy for a while.
Nailed it.
I had a lot of jobs in college, man. And so there was these guys where I went in there and I'd say, hey, and this is true. I'm like, work is school's getting really rough this semester, and I need to cut back on my hours or whatever. And he's like, well, what if we give you more money? Would you be able to be? I'm like, all right, fine. I keep my 20 hours a week, whatever. So this other guy's like, oh man, I'm gonna tell him that too. And he came back and I'm like, hey, what happened? And he's like, oh, they told me that they got a lot of guys. Like I can go ahead and just quit or just work once a week. So that's kind of like the same thing with Telesco. He went like they told him like, oh, if we lose Telesco, there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys that we like other than Telesco. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't like he was integral to the whole operation.
Well, and in fairness too, you got the extra bonus, like you're allowed to like jerk off in the waiting room, whereas before you couldn't. So like you got to like use that negotiation, you got to use your leverage where you got it. That's what you did.
Good for him.
Best Buy. What was your reaction to when you got the news Ben Johnson? I had gotten so greedy. I wanted Ben Johnson so bad. I could taste Ben Johnson in my mouth.
Ew.
I was craving that. And remember, when the season went the way it did, and we're like, all right, and AP's not coming back. Let's keep our eyes open for head coach. It didn't even occur to me that Ben Johnson could even potentially come here. Like, there's no way he's going to come here. We don't have a quarterback. He can have his pick of the litter. There's no way he'd even consider the Raiders. We don't have a QB. Things a mess. Keep firing coaches. Only 4 wins. Blah, 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 blah. But then the reports start coming out. Tom Brady starts wooing him a little. They're buddy. Oh, the interview went great. They stayed forever. Ben Johnson was so prepared. And I was like, oh my God, we're getting him. We're so getting him. Should have known. He's going to go where there's a quarterback. Duh. Why was I overthinking it?
I don't think it was that cut and dry. I think it ended up being that. I thought of this after they had lost. I was thinking to myself, this is not good for us because
Mhm.
they just got a young, a dynamic quarterback who comes in there and just balls out. And there was no way they would have won with anyone else but Jaden Daniels that game.
Yeah.
So I think I made him kind of rethink the whole, well, we can find a guy in Vegas when they already have a guy in Chicago. I was like, yeah, we knew it. It's like when you didn't study for a test and you're like, all right, man, maybe I just guessed right more often than not. And you get back like a 50 and you're like, damn, I knew it. Like it sucks and you wish it didn't, but yeah, you kind of saw it coming.
It's one of those things where like when you describe everything from the outside, you're like, of course Ben Johnson's not going to the Raiders. It makes no sense. But when you're on the inside, you can convince yourself, that's where I was. I was in the bubble, just circle jerking. Oh God, we're getting Ben Johnson. It's going to be great. Anyway, fuck him. He's going to the Bears. We'll kick his ass later whenever we play him.
Did you see his like induction interview? Like he sounded like a weirdo.
He did? I didn't watch this. I don't watch it.
Down. Yeah. I'm so happy to be here, man.
Was it the presser?
No, it was like a little video afterwards, like just for the Bears fans.
I saw that, and I saw Lions fans really just like, oh my God, what a weirdo. This is so fucked up. I think that was just pissed he's gone. It's just like a normal.
No, it didn't sound normal. It sounded like he sounded
normal
like
to me.
Dork.
It sounded like a 20.
I guess an offensive guy. You want a dork just to nerd it out on a freaking offense.
It sounded like a 23-year-old social media intern ran up to him when he's doing 900 other things and like, hey, say something to Bears Nation in 12 seconds. He's like, this is great. Bear down. This is blah, blah, blah. Like, it sounded like
they call him Bears
some guy
Nation?
running up to him. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Bears.
I hope they don't. That sounds awful.
So that leaves us still looking for a head coach. This is, as far as I know, the most up-to-date as of 9:02 p.m. Wednesday evening, Pacific Standard Time, January 22nd, in the year of our Lord 2025. Of every single team that needed a head coach, every single potential head coach that could even conceivably be the Raiders head coach and their current status. I went through all this today. I believe this is the most up to date. Everyone go through it. You too, Soda. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything or anything's inaccurate. This is a working document. I think as of right this second, it's correct. So if you remember last week, we didn't like rank them. We went through tiers, or a tier system, right? We had the drinking bleach tier. We're like, oh God, dude, please not this guy. We'll allow it. They're like, okay, cool. Wait and see. I'm not pissed. I'm not excited. Blah, blah, blah. Then we had excited fist pump. Like, yes, awesome guy. And then backflips of joy in the hallway. We're just like, I can't believe we're getting this guy. And the reason why there's two awesome ones, one whatever to one bad, is because I think there's way more good head coaching candidates out there than bad. Like, there are more good head coaching candidates. Not guaranteeing they're all going to succeed, but more head coaching candidates that you and I are excited for than there are open jobs. So there was a total of seven teams that needed a head coach. Obviously, the Pats came and went immediately. They got Vrabel right away. The Bears just took Ben Johnson, and the Jets just got Aaron Glenn. So of our backflips of joy in the hallway, number one was Ben Johnson. For me, it was number one by a mile. He's at the Bears. Liam Cohen, the OC for the Bucs, he has now just signed a new deal with the Bucs. He's going to stay there as OC. And then it leaves Pete Carroll available. He's interviewed with the Raiders and Bears. That was 2 weeks ago, and it's been crickets ever since. Maybe they were just kind of waiting for all these chips to fall. That's kind of my guess. But yeah, only one of our top choices could potentially still be the guy. And it does seem like, if you believe the beat writers and read the tea leaves, Pete Carroll's in the driver's seat to be the next Raiders coach.
This makes a lot of sense, man. I mean, there's a couple things that kind of lean towards us going that way. And it does make a lot of sense. When he hired AP, then he hired Telesco, the reason that Mark Davis gave for hiring Telesco is he didn't want to pair up a rookie head coach and a rookie GM again together. Mm-hmm. So now you have a rookie GM, and you would think that they would get an experienced head coach.
Experienced and good with personnel. Like Pete Carroll put together.
And has some experience with personnel. The reason why I like Pete Carroll so much, okay, and I was thinking, I think I mentioned this last week. Pete Carroll is the absolute number one best case scenario of what AP could turn into. Same guy, defensive guy, connects really well with players.
AP started surfing and chewing bubble gum.
Great motivator, brings a lot of juice and a lot of energy. But he's one of the best in-game coaches you're going to find. He's not intimidated by anyone. He's a great motivator, and he gets his teams come already to play. You never hear of his Seattle teams getting blown out. His guys are, they don't have these letdown games that we've been having lately, feeling ourselves like, no, Pete Carroll's been through it. He's beaten all the coaches in our division a ton of times. There's no drop off when it comes to the Raiders head coach if you have Pete Carroll there.
I'm with you. Leader in the clubhouse for us. It does seem like he's tied to us. Of course, there's a possibility the Jaguars, Cowboys, or Saints, the other three teams still looking for a head coach, could make a better deal, swoop in for whatever reason. Maybe he finds those jobs more appealing for whatever reason. So we'll see what happens because, again, he was interviewed 2 weeks ago by the Raiders and Bears. The Jags, Cowboys, and Saints, the other three teams didn't even interview him. We're the only team that's still looking for a head coach to even talk to him. So
I think he wants to stay on the West Coast, dude. I think he wants to stay out here. He doesn't want to go. He doesn't want to move.
You'd think he'd at least interview to raise his stock, or maybe he's just desperate and be like, "Hey guys, I'm with you." I don't know.
Or
I hope
he's
you're right.
He just I just want to stay out here, and everyone knows it. I mean, I've been hearing a lot of rumors that maybe Patrick Graham might be up in line for the Jags job.
He interviewed again. I would be shocked just on his on the track record of the Raiders defense and the other really good candidates and other really good defensive candidates out there. It's possible. I would be shocked if Patrick Graham got a head coaching job, but certainly possible. The other two, man. Yeah.
I mean, we talked about the big drawback of Pete Carroll is his age. Mm-hmm. And I started looking into the other coaches in the division. Hey man, Andy Reid, God bless him, he's lost a lot of weight. He's still really big, but he's lost a good amount of weight.
He switched from double cheeseburgers to just regular cheeseburgers.
He stopped getting the double quarter pounder meal and a 10-piece to just the double quarter pounder meal.
He's the guy that goes, I'll have 7 double cheeseburgers, 4 large fries, and a Diet Coke. My body.
Dude, I drink Diet Coke. I can't drink regular Coke anymore. It's too sweet for me. Like I said, I'm not a sweet tooth. I don't have a sweet tooth.
But it's technically worse for you. It's worse for you than the actual one. Just take the sugar. All those.
Honestly, I would rather have a Fanta or something with real sugar.
Yeah, eat your insides. But yeah, man, he's in his 70s, but he'll run circles around Andy Reid.
Andy Reid's been big for a long time, dude. And have you seen Sean Payton? Sean Payton's like a little paunchy himself.
Mm-hmm. Being in the face.
Harbaugh has a knee replacement. He needs another replacement and a hip replacement. That guy's falling apart. He just
Harbaugh's body will fall apart, but I can see the guy living to be 100. Just how he's wired, just going. He'll be in a wheelchair, but he'll be going. The other two teams guys we'll be really excited about. Obviously, Aaron Glenn is now at the Jets. Todd Monken and Brian Flores. Monken was interviewed by the Raiders, also the Jags and Bears. So Bears obviously gone. So it's a two-way race between Jags and Raiders. I think if we wanted Monken, I think there's a pretty good chance we'd get him. Brian Flores came out hot. No second interviews after he interviewed the Jets, Jaguars, and Bears. Again, the Raiders didn't even talk to him. So very low chance we get Flores for multiple reasons. Monken, I think, still in play. Again, Carroll number one, I think. If you were like Pete Carroll or the field, if you're betting, I would take Pete Carroll over anyone else. Mm-hmm. I think at this point. But Monken's still very much in play. The Raiders have yet to talk to Steve Spagnuolo. It was requested. He talked to the Jets and Jaguars. It's always nice to take a coach from a divisional opponent. Always a perk. Gruden, again, no one's talking to him, but he's always in play. He's just the wild card. Mm-hmm. Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy haven't even talked to the Raiders. So it's we're in a weird place right now, Soto. Again, I think it's Pete Carroll. Monken I'll be happy with. Everyone else the Raiders interviewed, Robert Saleh, Cliff Kingsbury, Vance Joseph. I wasn't even thinking Ron Rivera. I wasn't even on our list last week, but the Raiders asked to interview him. So all the other guys we interviewed, I'm just like, no, thank you. Blah.
It's hard to imagine it being anyone other than Monken or Carroll at this point.
It would be shocking. I would be something. I think we'd have to really fuck up, or something drastic would have to happen for it to not be. Again, I think it's Carroll over 50% chance, and then Monken seems to be the right one after that. I'm with you. Like, it would. It's hard to say. It's hard to say what would have to happen for that to happen, because
Well,
even like,
here's we haven't even talked to Kellen Moore and Mike McCarthy. Okay,
Mhm.
Brian Flores. I don't know. I think maybe he was interviewed just kind of just to get him out there, his name out there. That he's been interviewed. I think there may be some saltiness with some of the owners because he's basically suing them. Spagnuolo, I don't know about Spags, man. Just because if you hire him, it's more than likely going to have to be after the end of the season.
Yep.
And what offensive coordinators are going to be left for him to take?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be different if it was a Ben Johnson because he would be the offensive coordinator. And you could, there's more defensive coaches out there because more of the head coaches are going to be offensive guys, right?
Yep.
So who are you going to get for as in your staff? That's the thing. If you wait longer, a lot of these guys are going to get other jobs, and you're not going to be able to build a good staff. So that's why I think the Spagnuolo one is a little bit kind of far-fetched for me, just because he's not going to even interview until after he's knocked out of the playoffs, which could be coming up Monday. But still, I just for what the team is looking for, that's what Pete Carroll does, dude. He's a winner, man. He goes into situations and he turns it around, he stabilizes things, and he puts, a good culture in there, culture of, competition. Everyone, that was the big thing at SC. There was no depth chart coming into spring ball. Like, everyone, it's wide open. And every single week, everyone knows that if you kill it during the week in practice, you're going to play in the game. So you go in there and you give the guys a fair shot, and you don't have favorites, and you don't keep rolling out Minshew, even though he's sucking donkey dick and turning the ball over left and right. You put the best players into play. Players respect that.
As bad as it hurts not getting Ben Johnson, at least like our ceiling dropped, but I think our basement is still pretty high, because all the ones that we hate, it seems like they're going elsewhere. Robert Saleh, the Jags asked for a second interview. He's still likely to go on to be defensive coordinator for San Francisco. Cowboys are still in play, so he's getting a lot of looks, which kind of waters it down for the chances of us getting it. Joe Brady, we didn't even talk to, but he did an interview with the Saints. No one's talking to Jesse Minter. That was kind of like people thought it for a hot second, just completely disappeared. Cliff Kingsbury, again, waiting for the postseason to end. Raiders didn't even talk to him, talked to the Saints and the Bears. I think people have seen him as a head coach, and they're like, just stay as a coordinator. That's clearly what you're good at. Vance Joseph, the Raiders are actually talking to him tomorrow, or as you're listening to this today, Thursday. So that one's still pending. I don't like that one at all. So it doesn't seem like our worst fears could get realized, which is the good part. It's just so much, probably Pete Carroll, if not Todd Monken, or we're living in crazy land and we end up with fucking Jesse Minter for some reason.
I just don't see it, man. It just wouldn't make sense. There's no connection there. Vance Joseph doesn't have a pedigree of turning franchises around. He doesn't have a pedigree of building things long term in that supreme managerial role. Yeah, he took over. Vic Fangio had a bomb ass defense with the freaking Broncos before they fired him.
Everywhere he goes, man, that Fangio defense, man.
God, dude, that freaking Fangio guy. It just didn't mesh with the Broncos. It didn't mesh. They had a little bit different personnel, and they didn't want to get rid of and just overhaul the personnel because they had a good defense already.
Mm-hmm.
Vance Joseph goes in and kind of gets slotted into a really kind of cushy situation. Don't get me wrong. He did improve them. They got better, but it wasn't like, it's kind of like saying that, oh yeah, Deion Sanders turned around the Colorado Buffaloes. Like, wait a second. He didn't take the same team and make them a lot better. The Deion Sanders Colorado team looked nothing like the Colorado team before Sanders got there. So it's a little bit different. Yeah, but yeah, Vance Joseph made a good defense better, but it wasn't like he built it. So that's the main thing I think for me is Carroll does have that, like pedigree of building things and stabilizing franchises.
So I like to think we're being objective here. We're not looking at things through rose-colored glasses, but it does feel like the guy we want the most is most likely coming with Pete Carroll. The guy we like second most is second most likely to come in Todd Monken. I don't feel like we're being with Ben Johnson. I'm always like second guessing myself. I mean, is this wishful thinking, or is this really is this really what's happening? It does feel like that's where we're at. Do you have a 3, 4, and 5? I know we just tiered them. But if we don't get Pete or Todd, who else would you be down with?
I mean, I don't mind Mike McCarthy whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a good head coach. He wins wherever he goes. He's a good offensive coach. I don't mind Mike McCarthy one bit. I think the John Gruden thing is kind of a pie in the sky type of thing. Mm-hmm. When you have, I don't think you would want to put a John Gruden with a new GM because it's gonna be fireworks, because you're gonna have Tom Brady on one end backing the GM, and you're gonna have Mark Davis on the other end backing John Gruden. And I don't know if you noticed this about John Gruden, but he wants to get his way. He wants things his way.
He gets fired up,
and that's fine. You're the head coach. It's your record that goes out there and everything. I get it. I understand. He has never been known as a guy that's easy to work with in the managerial sector. Like if you're one of his coaches that he picked or one of his players that he picked, different story. But if you're in the front office and, ask Reggie McKenzie how cool he was to work with.
Yeah.
See what you think about that. So I just don't see that happening, but I wouldn't mind him if he can come in there and say, look, yeah, you're having fun with Barstool. This is your chance to get back into coaching. Do you want to do it or not? If you do, this is what's going to happen. And I just don't think that he's going to be able to do it for any length of time. But I like McCarthy. Kellen Moore is a little bit, he's been a little up and down.
I really like Brian Flores as our number 3. Because
I don't see it whatsoever.
I keep saying like this needs foundational change at the Raiders. Like opposite of Antonio Pierce. AP was just like, whatever we're doing, I'm just going to keep doing it. Right. It was just kind of a Raider Nation yelling Raiders, more of the same. It's like, it needs a foundational change, a no bullshitter like Brian Flores. And I think with Spytek being kind of the nice guy, Tom Brady kind of in charge of everything, the abrasiveness of Flores could be tempered or at least focused a little bit better. I just love that he went to Miami. The owner was actively trying to tank, and he still got to a 500 record. Like, he had everything going against him, and through sheer force of will, they were able to win basically half their games. I think that says a lot about him. I'm with you that there's not a lot of wind blowing in that direction for him to come here, but he's my number 3. If I could just
my big thing for Brian Flores, dude, is he tried everything he could to ruin Tua's career. Mm-hmm. He tried everything he could. And the second he left and Mike McDaniel comes in, Tua goes through the roof.
In fairness, Mike McDaniel kind of is that guy as an offensive mind too.
It wasn't just X's and O's though. That's the thing. No. That because X's and O's. I'm not even talking about X's and O's. I'm talking about how he handled the player. And when you have a team, a nucleus, right now, this team is not this nucleus on the Raiders. Don't lie to yourself. It's not a strong, granite unit right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maxx Crosby's talking about, going somewhere else. He's not being shy about it. You have a ton of free agents on that defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Offense, your quarterback is up in the air. Your offensive line is up in the air. You really only have one consistent weapon, two consistent weapons on offense. The running back position is it's not this guy they just need a head coach. A lot of decisions need to go the right way for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't know that somebody that has been known to treat your freaking first round top 5 pick quarterback like freaking stepped on dog shit. I don't know if that's the kind of guy I want.
I mean, he was a grinder. I don't know, treating him like stepped on dog shit. It's a little over dramatic.
Okay, well,
I get what you're saying.
Listen to the stories.
The thing with Mike McCarthy that always bothers me is you look at his record, you're like, oh yeah, he wins everywhere. But every one of these teams are always underachieving. He won 1 Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. 1. This Cowboys team. This Cowboys team had studs. Not, there were some holes, but like every roster does. But they just fell apart. I was just like, I think he's a really, really good. I think he's really smart. You always say, what's the best thing Floyd Mayweather ever did? His matchmaking. He picked the right guys at the right time. They're either he got Canelo when Canelo was young. He got Pacquiao when Pacquiao was old. He was very smart about when he fought, who he fought, on top of being a great boxer. Mike McCarthy's really good about picking his head coaching jobs. He's picked some places where you should thrive. And the Raiders aren't as stacked as the other teams he's taken over before.
Yeah, I mean those Cowboys teams before him, those Jason Garrett Cowboys teams at the tail end of that was not great. And I mean, I get it, I understand it, but when you go look at the track record, it's hard to argue more for somebody else that hasn't done it and hasn't won when he's done it and won in multiple places.
He's got experience, that's for sure. No doubt about it. So I like to report a robbery, Soto. Like to call in to the local jurisdiction. And it's a preemptive robbery. It hasn't even happened yet, but I know it's going to happen. And I like to report it. Brock Bowers is about to be robbed of the title of Offensive Rookie of the Year. These are the odds for winning it. Jaden Daniels is a minus 20,000 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Brock Bowers second, plus 2,500. Bonex plus 10,000. Doesn't even matter the other two. Jaden Daniels is going to win it. He's going to win it. And I'm trying to make peace with that. I'm trying to tell myself, RJ, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't change this. So I'm trying to find some serenity here, Soto. But I just can't. Brock Bowers had one of the most legendary rookie seasons ever.
Look, I said it when we talked about Tom Telesco and the job that he did. He had one major job in the draft, which was address the quarterback situation. And I'm not even talking about the first round. He didn't do it at all. And even an above average quarterback affects the game so much more than a generational talent at tight end. It's just the fact of the matter. It is what it is. I think for right now, it's more so how the player is affecting the game and their team instead of the individual stats of a specific player.
Well, that's 100% what it is. You're never going to win this award on a losing team, right? What we always say about Maxx Crosby, he'd be a defensive player of the year every year if he was on a good defense, but he's not, right? So it's everything around Jaden Daniels. Again, Jaden Daniels is good. I'd love it. Fuck, dude. I'd give your left nut to have Jaden Daniels as a Raider. No, that's not the issue here. The issue here is Brock Bowers shattered records, whereas Jaden Daniels had a good season. Let me drive it home for you. These are Brock Bowers' broken records when his quarterbacks were Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, Desmond Ridder, and his OCs were Luke Getsy and Scott Turner. These are the records he broke. Most receptions in a season by a rookie, 112. Most receiving yards in a season by a rookie tight end, 1,194. First rookie tight end to reach 1,000 receiving yards ever in the history of humankind. First rookie pass catcher to reach 1,000 receiving yards ever in the history of mankind. He's the only rookie on Pro Football Writers of America's first team this year and last season. Only one. Oh, and by the way, no tight end has ever won Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's literally never happened. The Pro Football Hall of Fame has put Brock Bowers' gloves, shoes, helmets, and footballs he caught to break those records on display in the Pro Football Today gallery. That's the type of season that he had. Let's do Jaden Daniels, shall we? Jaden Daniels, completion percentage, 69%. That's pretty good. 6th in the NFL. Outside the top 5, not bad. Passing yards, 3,568. 16th in the NFL. And he played all 17 games. Touchdowns, that's pretty important. 25 touchdowns. You'd be happy with that. Tied for 10th in the NFL. Passer rating, over 100 for a rookie. That's pretty impressive. 7th in the NFL. QBR 70.5. That's 4th in the NFL. Really good quarterback. Quality quarterback. Not even like he's top 5 in one category. Whereas Brock Bowers is the greatest rookie tight end ever and by far the best tight end in the NFL. So everything you're saying was right, Soto. That's more my point. Is it has now become a brainless award to whoever the best quarterback was, as opposed to who is the best rookie in football. Because if the reward was actually that, there is no question it's Brock Bowers, who shattered every possible record he could get his hands on, whereas Jaden Daniels was good. And
it just shows you how much. It's not even how much more attention is put on the quarterback position. It's how much more important that position is to the game of football, not just to advertising or ratings or just. It's so much more important. Now I got breaking news here. Breaking news. Donald Trump has issued a full pardon to Barrett Robbins for going to a donkey show in TJ instead of the Super Bowl.
Wow, he's really extending that pardon. Normally you wait till the end of your term.
Get that hot pen rolling. Yeah. Might as well.
And normally you wait till the end of your term to do the hot pardons. But he's like, no, I know what the people want. Use my power for good. Using that pen as a sword. Well, speaking of donkey shows, Josh McDaniels is going to the Patriots. Remember when Mike Vrabel did his hiring presser? I forgot who it was. One of the media guys asked him. He's like, "Yeah, well, what about reports that Gronk wants you to bring in Josh McDaniels?" And Vrabel's like, "Oh yeah, like he's on the list, on the long list." Like he had to like specifically say he's on the long list. I wonder if he got pressured into getting Josh McDaniels. He didn't sound like he was excited about it.
I think he was probably trolling him, dude.
Yeah, just fucking with his boy.
He was probably trolling JMD.
Yeah.
You keep him just focused on offense. You don't have to worry about him doing anything else. Not a bad hire for him.
We'll see, because he's literally gotten the worst out of every quarterback he's ever coached, unless he's with Belichick. Fact. Derek Carr's worst season up until, since his rookie year was under Josh McDaniels. When he went to the Rams, was it Bradford? Was it the Rams, I think?
Sam Bradford.
32nd offense in football when he was the OC at the Rams.
To be fair, Bradford didn't play too much. He was coming off an injury, and then he got injured again that year. So I think it was what was his name? It was some other guy that played a lot too that year. Bradford didn't play a lot that year.
32nd offense.
I get what you're saying.
There are 32 teams in the NFL, and Josh McDaniels' offense was the worst out of all of them. Broncos, we know what happened. He ran a pretty good quarterback out of town so we can draft Tebow and suck that team's offense down to nothing. So if he succeeds under Vrabel, it would literally be the first time in Josh McDaniels' NFL coaching career where not only did he succeed, but he didn't give that quarterback the worst season of his career. Jimmy Garoppolo too. Like Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't good, but JMD made him look atrocious. Just a
he played pretty good. Machine. He played pretty good week 18 for Sean McVay.
Right?
He looked like a different dude.
They all look different, man. Every quarterback that plays with Josh McDaniels has their worst performance, has their worst season, unhappy, driven out of town, made the scapegoat. Even the way he treated Aiden O'Connell, it's like, hey, take number 4 because I want you to be part of my petty beef with Derek Carr, who's not even here. Like, I don't even care what you think about Derek Carr. Like, you're going to put your rookie 4th-round quarterback as part of your petty beef. It's just like,
it's so lame, dude.
So lame. And he sucks. Without Belichick, not only has he never succeeded, he's gotten the worst out of his quarterbacks. For a guy that said, I can make a high school quarterback all pro. My system's just impenetrable. I can just do that. It's like, okay.
See you, brother.
Good luck, Vrabel. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Have fun over there. Of course, he's saying, hey, I'll enjoy your checks. Thanks, Mark Davis. God, you fucking asshole.
Right. Wait, do we still have to pay him if you got another job?
Yeah, it's not like divorce.
Oh.
Where like once you get remarried, you're off the hook. It's like, nope, that's guaranteed. It's guaranteed money. It is guaranteed. Mark Davis is going to be paying 4 head coaches next season. Probably.
God.
Yeah. Good thing it's not part of the salary cap. I don't give a shit. You get the most expensive ticket in town, Mark. You can afford to pay 1,000 coaches if it takes 1,000 coaches to get one good one, keep doing it, Mark. You need it. This is
rolling.
Like when I did a Cofield show a couple weeks ago, he's like, Mark Davis needs to just say, like, open up the checkbook for a head coach. Whatever it costs, however long, whatever the guaranteed money, I don't care. Just do it. I don't care if the other owners get pissed. I don't care if the league gets mad. Mark Davis is like, oh, I care about winning. I want to win. Well, you got to prove it because the results aren't showing it. Like Mark Davis owes that to the fan base. He needs to do something. He has the most expensive ticket in town, $350 for a bucket of wings in the VIP section.
Fucking crazy, dude.
Destroyed our tailgating, moved the team, and I get why he moved it. Like I'm not even like pissed about that. But you've turned the Raiders franchise into a Hoover for cash. It's just a whirlwind that just sucks burlap sacks of gold bullion into your coffers. And you keep putting out a shit product. Like Mark Davis, he needs to make a grand statement to Raider Nation to say, guys, I'm sorry I've been fucking up. I'm proving to you right now with my actions that I will do whatever it takes to win. And just fucking sign a giant check. Just bam. You can do it with your head coach. Just fucking do it.
I mean, I think that was the only shot that we had to get Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Just offer him so much more money than anyone else. And ultimately, Ben Johnson's like, I want to win too.
Yeah.
And I'm not trusting the process and finding my own quarterback when there's already a guy here that I want to work with. So
yeah. And the Bears ain't broke either, so I'm sure made it work. But hey, look, the Tom Brady hire, selling chunks of the team, it was a good sign, right? It was a good sign of a little self-awareness for Mark Davis. There's some things I don't know. Clearly, I'll never know. Let's bring in some guys that do know it. Now, let's see another grand gesture. Let's see it, Mark.
See it.
All right. We're going to do some what up Windbags.
Yeah, man. Let's get this going.
Bama Bob 99. His list. Number 1, Ben Johnson. Number 2, Pete Carroll. Number 3, me. And not me, RJ, me. Bama Bob 99. I wonder, I don't even know. Just the fact that he is a member of the Autumn Windbags, I'm going to assume that he'd be a better head coach than Josh McDaniels. Just because he's a member of the Autumn Windbags.
All you have to do is go to the Madden simulator. Mm-hmm. That's it.
It'll be better.
Yeah, just get all the plays down, script those plays, and you're good to go.
Same thing for Antonio Pierce's in-game decision. He'd probably be better. Just what is like the Madden recommendation? What do you do here?
Oh my
Be better.
God, dude.
It'd be better than AP. Not to keep dragging AP through the mud, but that's true. You know what I'm saying is true, everybody.
The Raiders had 4 garbage time touchdowns after 2-minute warning. So when you say they were outscored 70-40, it was actually 70-12.
70-12. Little Havana with 3 A's. The league is melting down over Brady's impact of attracting great coaching candidates to the Raiders. I've seen more of the melting down that he's broadcasting on Fox while still owner. That seems to be like the trendy media pet peeve to be like, well, Tom Brady, he can't be objective because he's an owner. It's like, no color guys are objective. Every single guy out there, he played under a coach. He's got teammates out there. He's business partners with people. And how does that affect the game? How does that affect the game? He's talking over the game to the audience. He's not telling coaches what to do or suiting up himself or in the locker room giving away secrets. He's giving anecdotes. He's there because he's famous, giving anecdotes during the game.
I mean, have you heard Chris Collinsworth talk about Patrick Mahomes? There was a ton of bias out there, a ton of bias. So I don't think it's a huge deal. The issue with Brady, also being a commentator and an owner and having input, is if it works, you're going to see a lot more former players being brought in as either consultants or even full-time hires for these teams.
Yeah. This whole idea that's like, well, media members just love talking about, he's going to be so biased. It's like, look, dude, this isn't 1964 where there's 3 TV networks and nothing else. And everyone is just kind of like brainwashed. It's like, we've got the internet. We've got social media. We're pretty savvy now as viewers. We all know Tom Brady's owner of the Raiders. We all know other broadcasters have biases and pet peeves and relationships. And it's like Tony Romo calling a Cowboys game. He knows half those guys. He's gonna be unbiased. So weird. I understand the foundation of it. I do understand the foundation of the argument, but it's like, who is it hurting? And what is it hurting? It's
like, as far as being a commentator, he has so much restriction on him of what he can do. Mm. It's like he's as dry as he is as and he was fine. He wasn't great. He was fine because all he can really do is pull from his own personal experience and call what he sees, because he doesn't get to talk to him a bunch beforehand and prepare notes and interview these people at their facilities or in the the production meetings or anything like that. He can't be any of those. So it's like, okay, I call what I see and I pull from my own experience. That's pretty much it.
And all these restrictions on Tom Brady, it's all tongue in cheek, dude. The NFL loves that Tom Brady is calling games. Fucking loves it. He's the most famous football player in the world. You know, they want him on a beach in Maui with banging some Instagram model. No, they want him connected to the NFL product. It's like that's why they want the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl. So Taylor Swift is there. They want Tom Brady and Taylor Swift on the same broadcast. It's like rating circle jerk. The NFL doesn't give a shit.
Did you see Belichick roll his eyes at the Manning cast when they freaking showed Taylor Swift? Oh, so funny. He didn't have to say anything. He's just like,
He's such an old man in every way. It's hilarious.
But he's a hilarious
old man.
He's all of us in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. The whole he can't talk to people in production meetings. He's like, those production meetings are recorded, transcribed, and he gets the notes. Oh yeah, he can't go in the facility. Yeah, he can. Who's gonna stop him? Come on. JG Castro 000 at Mr. Wonderful. Do you guys ever do any Long Beach events? Let's get the band together. We've been talking about that, man. We're 2 shows away from 300. I'm in Huntington Beach now, but it's 5 miles from where I was in Long Beach. You're in Long Beach. I think it's time. I think it's time we do an off-season meet and greet. We haven't really done it. We've bumped into people before. We've had shout out to a couple of you viewers that we've had the absolute honor to like bump into and meet up with. But I think we're due. We'll take suggestions of where we should go, what we should do. Go to a bar for. It'll be off season. Do we want to wait until like the draft and do a draft thing? Do we want to do something before then?
Who knows, man? I think we should do something before then. But I'm not going to Iguanas at Pico Rivera. That place is a shooting waiting to happen. I remember the last time we were talking about having a like, oh yeah, give me your suggestions. They're like, yeah, Iguanas at Pico Rivera. I'm like, I know that place. I'm not going there.
That's a little too Raider bar for us.
Yeah, there's a couple of rough spots out there, dude. There's this like Mexican freaking nightclub right next to it where like all the Diaz and Dios go out there and just handle business. So I don't know, man. Give us some suggestions, but just don't say Iguanas at Pico.
We'll take some suggestions. Let us know. Comment section. All right. Well, the head coaching search is on. Maybe hired before our next show. If so, we'll go live. And of course, any other big developments that happen between now and next show, we will keep you abreast of everything. But until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.